I think it's worth going into some of the details of how this little causal network works for the little puzzle that I just did, the 3 green stars. So the situation that they represent is this. First, the unknown here is what stars or what star he has. It's either a red star or a green star. He has no way of knowing what the queen is going to put. So it's 50-50. Now, this is the unknown, but it's going to be causally related to 2 things. Right? It's going to be causally related to what he sees, and so how many stars, and to how many hands he sees. And we can decide here to count his hand as well. So this is ultimately the node that's of interest. Notice here, right, he can, ahead of time, when he's thinking about this, you can say, well, since I don't know what's going to happen, right, these 3 possibilities, I'm either going to see 3 green stars, 2 red stars, or a red and a green. So they're all equally possible. Now, it's this node that's of interest, and I want to look into its brain. So we'll go over here. Now, I've already done this, but we'll look at its brain, and we'll see how to interpret this. And the idea is that this is a deterministic function, and the idea is simply this. All right, look. If I see 2 green stars, and my star is red, remember, I don't see the color of my star, but if my star is red, how many hands will I see? Well, including my own, I will see 3 hands. I will raise my hand, and the other 2 will raise their hand as well. If I see 2 green stars, and my star is green, obviously I'm going to see 3 hands. If I see 2 red stars, and my star is red, obviously I'm going to see no hands up. I put 0. If I see 2 red stars and my star is green, I will see 2 hands, right? Because if my star is green, 2 people will see that. And if I see a red star and a green star, and my star is red, well then, I will see 2 hands, because I will raise my hand, and the other person who also sees a green star will raise his hand. And finally, if I see a red star and a green hand, and a red star and a green star, and my star is green, well then, I will see 3 hands. So, let's see what happens. So I applied, and close. And we notice right away, oh, I didn't need to include the possibility of having 1 hand, right? That's not possible, right? If I raise my hand because I see a green star, well, the other person's going to raise his hand. And if someone sees if I have a green star, then 2 people will see that. So 1 hand is just not possible. I did not really, in fact, need to include that. But there you have it. Now, we can do a sanity check to see that we've really got this wired correctly. So, and we can do this. We can say, all right, well, let's see, let's just make sure, right? If I had a red star and I were to see, say I see 2 red stars, oh, then I would see 0 hand. Okay, so that works. Or if I saw 2 green stars, well, then yes, I would in fact see 3 hands. And if I saw a red and green, then I would in fact see 2 hands. So that works. So let's just withdraw that. And the idea is that, right, when he opens his eyes, he's going to enter the observation. And the observation is going to be how many hands he sees and what he sees over here. And the idea is that this will go backward and infer back to what the possibilities are. Now, right, if he saw 0 hands, oh, it'd be easy, right? Then if he saw no hands, then it would have to be, then he would see obviously 2 stars, And he would know immediately he has a red star. So, right, the deduction works very nicely backward. This is what's very nice about a causal network, is that the information can propagate forward, but also backward. So that's a very, very nifty property of these things. So let me just withdraw that, and I'll just note for reference here, right, that he entered in evidence this, that he saw 3 hands, and he sees 2 green stars. And his dilemma is, well, wait a minute, I would see the same thing if I had a red star or a green star, right? If, in fact, if we click, notice I can click here or here, here or here. Nothing changes. That's why he can't seem to decide what's going on. So I'll just withdraw that evidence, and that's why he is puzzled. The second counselor, he does the same thing. So we'll just go up here just for a minute, and I'll just say this. He does the same thing. He decides, being maybe a bit more clever, that I don't need to represent 0 or other 1 hand, because I know that's not possible. And he does the exact same thing. So his network is just a little smaller, a little more efficient. And he's filled it in the exact same way, and he does the same thing, right? And he said, well, look, I see 3 hands. And if I were to see a red and green, I would know that it's green, but that's not what I see. What I see is 2 green stars. And so if I see 2 green stars and I see 3 hands, well, then either of those possibilities could be possible. That is why, Your Highness, I am confused. So, what is it that Simon does? So, he does the same thing that the 2 wise guys do. He models what he sees, and it's either 2 green stars, 2 red stars, or a red and a green, and how many hands he's going to see. And in fact, he sees 3 hands and 2 green stars. And that means that either he has a red star or a green star. But then he decides to model what they must be seeing. So, and he figures, well, let's have a look here. If I had a red star, he says, if I had a red star, well then, they would see a red and green star. But then it would be easy to solve. And let's see why. Right, let's look into the brain. And let's put the truth table together. And the idea is simply this. We can say the following. If you had a red star, then they could only see a red and green. So could they see 2 green stars? No. So it would be impossible to solve. So we can safely say no, 100%. If, on the other hand, you had a red star and they saw the only thing they could see, namely a red and green star, well then, would it be easy to solve? Well, given that they are advisors after all, they would have recognized immediately, either one of them, that they must have a green star. So we can safely say that at 99.9% we're sure they would have recognized. So we can say, yes, it seems it would have been very easy to solve. And likewise over here, we can say, if you had a green star and they saw red and green, well, that's not possible. Given what we already know, given that he himself sees 2 green stars, then if he had a green star, they couldn't possibly be seeing red and green. So we can also say 100% not possible. Therefore, what remains then is, if he has a green star and they see 2 green stars, well then it's a little trickier to solve. Which is why we can say, oh, not so easy to solve, and we'll set that at 99%. We could have gone maybe a little lower, but 99% is a reasonable figure. So now we close this and we can do sort of sanity check. So we see if he had a red star, then they would see red and green and it would be easy to solve. So, but it must be otherwise. It must be what? It must be that he has a green star and therefore they see two green stars. And that explains why it is not easy to solve. That's why he reasons that he is almost certain to have a green star. What we can also do, by the way, is enter what we see or what we feel we see. Not only we see three hands and we see two green stars, then because 10 minutes have elapsed, and this is important, 10 minutes have elapsed, then it's not immediately obvious to either of the two counsels. And easy to solve, he says, no. And from that, he figures, well then, it's almost certainly the case that they must be seeing two green stars. But if that's the case, that must certainly be the case then that he himself must have a green star. So there is a kind of a probability judgment here, a subjective judgment, which is based on whether or not he thinks that it would be easy or hard to solve. And that involves him having a bit of knowledge about, or prior knowledge about the two counselors. So there we have it. That is how Simon the Wise reasoned that he had a green star.